Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is my December Amazon book haul, my last book haul of 2017. I got an interesting mix of books from Amazon this month because of different promotions and sales that they were running, which, don't get me wrong, are not phenomenal. But of course I still bought books. The first book that I picked up is called The Last Days of Jack Sparks. This is by Jason Arnott. So the book is about a journalist named Jack Sparks who's researching the occult for a new book. And the tagline is that Jack Sparks died while writing this book. It is a supernatural thriller, but it has a lot of elements of dark humor and satire mixed in there. And it also was attractive to me because elements of the here and now, Twitter and YouTube are both referenced in the blurb. So technology and social media are going to play a large part. And that's something that I don't often see or come across in horror and thriller novels. So I just thought it sounded really interesting, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how the humor mixes with what is called a fast, furious, original, and most importantly, terrifying book. Next, I picked up the book Touch, and this is by Claire North. Claire North is the author of the first 15 lives of Harry August, which I've heard about on BookTube a little bit. But this is the story of a man whose soul or consciousness, rather, or essence, can jump bodies, can take over bodies. So if he touches you, he can possess your body. And it says, Kepler is like you, but not like you. With a simple touch, Kepler can move into any body, live their life for a moment or days or years. You could be next. I thought it sounded kind of spooky. There was a movie sort of similar to that, sort of had the same kind of concept. I thought it was a fascinating concept then, and I still think it's a fascinating concept, and I'm excited to read this book. Next is the book Above Suspicion. This is by Joe Sharkey, and this is a little bit different for me. This is a true crime novel, which I don't have a lot of experience in, but I've wanted to get into some true crime because I think that I would enjoy it and find it fascinating. But this is the story of the first known FBI agent to confess to murder. I think he was carrying on an affair with one of his informants. I'm not sure if he tried to break it off and she got crazy and so he killed her. It says, though he had everything necessary to get away with murder, a spotless reputation, a victim with multiple enemies, and the protection of the Bureau's impenetrable shield, his conscience wouldn't allow it. Tormented by a year of guilt and deception, Putnam finally led authorities to Smith's remains. This is the story of what happened before, during, and after his startling confession, an account that should take its place on the dark shelf of the best American true crime. The next book that I picked up is called Kin, and this is by Keelan Patrick Burke. This is a self-published horror novel, and it sounds very reminiscent of a Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but it is the story of a sole survivor of a very Texas Chainsaw Massacre-esque crime, and the book follows her dealing with the aftermath of surviving something like that, and also coming together with relatives or friends of the other victims in order to band together and seek revenge on this, quote, family of cannibalistic lunatics. This next book sounded super fascinating. It's Method 1533, which I don't know what that is. But it's the debut novel of Shannon Kirk, and it's the story of a girl who gets abducted, but her abductors got way more than they bargained for, because apparently this girl is as sick and twisted as who she was kidnapped by. It says she is methodical, calculating, scientific in her plotting, a clinical sociopath, leaving nothing to chance, secure in her timing and practice, she waits for the perfect moment to strike. Method 1533 is what happens when the victim is just as cold as her abductors. The next book I picked up is called The Truth We Bury, and this is by Barbara Taylor Sissel. And this is the story of two mothers whose children are getting married, and the maid of honor for the wedding is found dead in the groom's apartment. The mother of the bride and the mother of the groom kind of come together to save their children from this scandal, and also seems like kind of protect them. The groom is a war hero, and it sounds like he's suffering from some post-traumatic stress. And so obviously one mother wants to save her son, the other mother wants to save her daughter, possibly from the other son. And it's not, to be honest with you, it doesn't really sound like something that I'm going to devour. It sounds interesting, and it was a good price, so I bought it. The next book that I picked up is Stillhouse Lake by Rachel Kane, and this book has been teasing me on Amazon for all of 2017. It keeps popping up in my suggestions, and I've been tempted to buy it before, and it just was offered for like $6 or something, and so I finally did. But it is the story of a woman named Gina, whose husband is revealed to be a serial killer. He goes to prison, and she's getting, you know, all of these harassing phone calls and visits of people who think that she was involved in his murder spree. But all of a sudden, someone starts targeting her, sending her letters, and another murder takes place while her husband is incarcerated. You know me, I like a good serial killer story. This next book sounds crazy, so I'm all about that. It's called A Cold War by Alan Russell, and it's the story of a woman who takes a business trip to Alaska and is abducted and taken into the middle of the wilderness to a cabin. She escapes into frigid Alaska wilderness, and so it becomes sort of a survivalist thriller where not only is she still trying to get away from this person who abducted her and who's trying to get her back, but she has to outsmart someone familiar with the Alaskan terrain and wilderness, and she has to survive the elements herself. So I don't know. It sounds crazy. Like, I never would have thought to make that a book, but it's a book called A Cold War. And I've been to Alaska. I don't know if I've ever told you guys that, but I have been to Alaska, and it is beautiful. And it was summer though when I was there, and I wasn't abducted. So yeah. The next book I picked up is called Dead Certain, and this is by Adam Mitzner. Do you ever get a feeling about a book? Like, I feel like I'm really going to like this book, which is scary because it'll probably disappoint me in the end. But I feel like I'm really going to like this book. Like, I had to have this book. To be honest with you, like, okay, the story sounds okay, but even the blurb isn't as exciting to me as my own feeling about this book. But anyways, okay, the story is about a woman who's living this double life. On one hand, she's an attorney, and on the other hand, she's a nightclub singer. And she has a little sister who writes a novel and then disappears. And so our singing attorney, teams up with a detective in the NYPD, and they realize that some of the sister's novel sounds like her life, and so they use the novel to track down the people who may have information about her disappearance. Like I said, I just feel like I need this book. Like I just have a feeling about this book, like I'm really gonna like it. But from the blurb, I can't really tell what this woman's secret life as a Nightclub Singer has to do with a missing sister and all of that. I'm intrigued because mostly I'm just confused and yet oddly drawn to this book. Next, I bought the book The Teller by Jonathan Stone. I think my last Amazon haul featured a Jonathan Stone book in it, but I thought this just sounded like a hoot. Okay, so The Teller is about a bank teller. She gets to know an elderly client. That elderly client gets hit and killed by a delivery truck. And so the bank teller decides to transfer $1 million from his bank account into her own bank account. The book is about whose money she's actually taking. And I just thought that sounded super fun. I mean, I have ties to the banking industry, and I just thought it sounded exciting. So, the last book I picked up is Hour of Need by Melinda Lee. This is a romantic suspense. It's about a military man. He receives news that his brother and sister-in-law have been murdered, and so he takes temporary custody of their children. And then someone tries to also kill the children. And he teams up with probably the really cute neighbor next door, whose daughter is also the victim of an attempted abduction. So the two of them team up to try to solve the mystery and catch the killers. And of course, they have the hots for each other. And we'll see how that goes. This is book 1 in a series, Just the Town, that this novel takes place in, is what links like 5 books together. And they were all offered at a really great price. I just wasn't ready to commit to all 5. So I did pick up the first one, and if I like it, then I'll go back for more. We'll see. So that's my Amazon haul for the month of December. Probably not as impressive as some may have hoped. It's not as impressive as I hoped, but, you know, Amazon, they have great prices on books all the time, so they don't really go all out for Black Friday and things of that nature. Again, I apologize for sounding really strange and being stuffy and sick, and hopefully everybody is having an amazing holiday season. I really have had fun with you guys in 2017, and I look forward to hanging out with you in 2018.